Give me one moment because I'm trying to find. Okay. I didn't realize that the last video live was 2 hours and 22 minutes until I went back and saw that in stats. 2 hours and 22 minutes. And I think that's what it means. 2 hours, 22 minutes and 35 seconds or something like that, or 23 seconds. My goodness. So that was a lot of energy there. And I definitely had to do some major clearing on myself, my son, the cat, the space that, I had to really go there because the whole time that I was on there, there was definitely energy being sent and projected. There was different things being done that I'm clearly aware of. And so I had to take care of all of that and balance some of that out. And that is something that I'm working on, actually, just kind of holding back some, okay? That everything is not going to be shared. And I'm not going to just, I'm going to be a little bit more mindful of my energy. That's something I'm working a lot on, okay? Not just physical, but energy, time, effort. I'm working on it, okay? But with that being said, as I took the time to clean my energy, my sons, the cats, yup, the cats. Because again, anything connected to me is on the receiving end. Okay, so the space, everything. I did a lot of that because I was like, good gravy. I was on there that long. And I did feel all that stuff. But as I was clearing, I even did a detox, a soak, all of that. I heard something like old school. When I was on a religious path, there used to be, how did it go? And I'm going to be really telling my age when I do this. It was a stomp, 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 stomp on the devil. I don't know what song it was, but we would be in church service and it was stomp, stomp, stomp. And we would be like going through we'd be going through the church and shiznit, whoa, stomp on the devil, stomp, stomp, right? Okay, some of y'all may remember that, okay? That was a part of the praise and worship service, especially if it was a high praise or what did they call it? Because I ended up in the, it's not a dispensation, but it's definitely Pentecostal movement kind of church. So, yeah, anywho. So, that's what we would do, yo. And that was supposed to be that's a ritual, by the way. But that was supposed to be our, the devil being the one, okay? The thing and the one that's trying to make our lives miserable, that's evil and vile and, corrupt, and that's really trying to, and that also meant his people because, it meant his people and some of our experiences. It wasn't just it was about whoever we had deemed to be his people, okay, that we thought was getting in the way of something, it's like stomp on the devil, stomp, stomp, okay. And after I heard that and I sensed what it was really about, because I'm like, okay, it's the energy that is coming towards the targeted population from religious radicals. Yep. Now, as I heard it and I sat with it, I'm like, okay. And I thought about my experience, to be fair on that path. And so I was like, okay. However, this is where I was able to catch the fine line that I think I talked about a little bit on previous videos. That fine line that seems to slip a lot of people from your own personal beliefs and something that you do. Like, for an example, I'm mentioning how we would be in a church service and you know, if that's what the pastor or the praise leader or whoever was conducting, you know, and then it's like, shit, we going down the aisle and you know, you want to, you know, step on the devil. Or if, depending on our situations, you know, those of us who had homes of our own, of course, you know, then you can do that. And it's just everything kind of depended on that. But, you know, we're in a parking lot, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's certain things you would, but there was always still a fine line. A very fine line between you incorporating your belief and your practice of what you believe, which may very well be built on delusion, but for what you believe to be the devil. Okay. And this is where they have lost it. This is where they dropped it. This is where they lost touch. Because stomping on the devil, you know, because we can't really, to be fair, I don't believe in fighting people or arguing or going back and forth about beliefs, because I believe it's something that people have to come to. Once upon a time, I believed differently, so no one would have been able to tell me different then. So it's just something that people have to come to. But what I do hold to is honor and balance and keeping a certain amount of perspective, no matter what end you're on. That's what I do believe. There's a fine line between somebody practicing their, you know, their freedoms, the liberties and freedoms they have per whatever country and region they're in, and owning that, to you're breaking law now. Now you're dipping into some other things now. It's one thing to have a service and, you know, your prayer meetings, because these are all liberties and freedoms. It's another thing to be now, when it's to do with a physical human person, that you're attaching the so-called devil to, and now you're attempting to take certain types of actual physical, it went past, you know, your personal room, or where it's not intrusive onto that person, the object that you were perceiving. Because see, if you're in an apartment complex, and, you know, so right there, you don't own it. Number one, they don't own it. You're in an apartment, and that apartment is not just yours. You're in a complex. Your little space in there, yes. But if you're in a complex, and that means, you know, once upon a time I was in a complex, they didn't have, you know, second and third floors and all that. It was just flat, okay? But, you know, if that's the case, and your so-called devil that you are identifying just so happen to be, like, that's, no, that's delusional. And that is intrusive on another human being, that, because it's based on delusion. Because remember, delusion, the definition says something about it's what somebody's perceiving, but it has no real, it doesn't have any real solid support, okay? And even if it did, when it comes to the physicality, then there's still protocols and fine lines, okay? Now, Those are rituals, by the way. And I just want to say, people get kind of stuck on what they think rituals are all about. You know, a lot of what's done in Christianity is just that. Okay, it's just with a Bible, a leather bound Bible, and that's the only difference. But the vibration, the energy, the intention, the practice, the actions, those are rituals. Those are forms of energy spelling work, if you will. And some of that includes feet, movement. Okay? That's delusion. You know, stuff like we're going into the enemy's territory. Like, I remember this stuff because I was hardcore. You know, I really wasn't, a flighty, a fickle Christian. I wasn't a fly by night. I was all the way, baby. All the way. For years. Okay, sincere. But I remember that stuff, you know, taking over the devil's territories and, you know, whatever we was talking about, bitch. And, you know, but then, you know, there's still a fine line. Because it's funny how if we were to flip some of them stories, we would have been, boy, I tell you what, the motherfuckers would have called themselves circling around our shit, or, you know what I'm saying? The first thing that come out of our mouth, we would have been, the devil is a lie. if somebody called themselves coming to do the very same things that we felt entitled to practice. That's why I say it's delusion and hypocrisy. Because, okay, in your belief, you feel you're warranted for that. But what if somebody else somewhere in their belief feel just as convicted about that, and they doing what you did? They stepping on the devil and they walking in, you know, they taking the territory. Now, let me give you an example, some other examples. Let's say, I love doing this to flip the script because it helps. Let's say I, being someone who was metaphysical, science, esoteric, you know, spiritual, about, you know, conscious expansion, because I'm even kind of letting go of the idea of spirituality now that I'm seeing it. But let's just say unorthodox, you know, I definitely believe in dealing with the elements and working with energy in a healthy manner to, you know. Okay. Now let's say, just follow me here. Let's say I'm in the U.S. because we're supposed to have liberties and freedoms to do so. And let's say I go into the corporate world and I get a job. Okay, that this ain't a Christian base, nothing, nigga, and you know what I'm saying? This is, you know, it's a regular motherfucker. You know, it's a job, it's a career, it's an industry. Okay, and I get a position. Let's say, you know, because I've worked in industries. Okay, so let's say I was an office administrator before for a mental health facility and for a hospital. This is a trillion thousand years ago, especially the hospital. Now let's say me being, like I just said, the spiritual, the esoteric, all those things that I'm into. That's my belief, it's my practice, and all of that. And let's say I have a certain level of authority in my position. Okay. So let's say in this business, someone comes in and they're traditionally religious. If I handle that situation because my tentacles are going up, because I feel like, you know, it's based on delusion, I feel like it's abuse culture, I feel, you know, all of the various things in which I hold, and this person come in, and that's their beliefs. And so because of, if I am not grounded enough and balanced enough, then I'm subject to exploit the fact that I am in a position. I may be being a little bit more rude than I would be, a little bit more detached and cold than I would be, a little less helpful than I would otherwise be, a little more fine-tooth comby. In other words, hunting down something to have a problem with the person because I kind of really don't. So that's the delusion. That's what I'm talking about. When that bleeds into other people's liberties and freedoms. You understand what I'm saying? In the US. Now, if that's not what we were basing ourselves on, then I wouldn't be saying that. But since that's what is in the US Constitution, then me deciding to take up the fact that I am a science, whatever you want to call me, science, new age, middle, all of it, and deciding that I don't like these traditionalists. I don't want that. I'm not comfortable with that. I don't want, I don't trust these kind. I don't trust these kind. I think they're bad news. I think they're bringing in cult culture. And I don't like that. I don't want that, this traditional stuff. They're cults. I don't want this to be in the environment. I think I'm going to deny this, I will be looked at as all kind of wrong. Oh, I will be looked at as all kind of wrong. They will be talking about they're under persecution and shit. They'll be singing the song that they're experiencing Christian persecution and discrimination because they're in the world and not of the world. I can almost guarantee you how that would go. It'll be this one of the favorite things. I'm under Christian persecution. I'm in this world, not of it. And that's why they're treating me this way. That's what will be said. That's why I'm being discriminated against. That's why I'm being persecuted. There's that persecution fantasy. That's why I'm being persecuted, because that's what would be said of the situation, and they would be trying to nail me to the cross if something like that were to come out, that I kind of hid behind my power and position in order to create some kind of hostile environment or missed opportunities or unnecessary troubles for somebody. It's delusion, y'all. I remember, listen, let me just say this. One of the women that's been following me, okay, that I've caught, maybe 3 occasions for sure, that seemed to land wherever I landed, okay? One of those ladies, just follow me. because this is important. This is one that I have at least caught 3 times, okay? That I've caught 3 times, seeming to just so happen within a matter of between 5 to 10 minutes, land where I landed, whether it was to the store, to the fitness center, the gym, whatever it is. It was at least 3 times, because I'm pattern recognition. I caught it 3 times. Okay. So this situation where this was the incidents where I went to the complex's gym. Okay. Remember, they're on their little whole, you know, whatever the fuck they got going on with the people watching, texting each other, and, you know, blase, blase. So I went there, you know, to do what I do. Sometimes it's yoga meditation on a rolly ball, and, you know, some different somatic exercises and stuff like that, because the other stuff I kind of use my gym membership for. Okay. So within moments, this time, I think it was not even a full 5 minutes, this particular time, because they were caught following me in the gym more than once. Okay. This particular time, they came in, and as you know, they were on the phone, and they came in, and I kind of went across from me. They're talking to this person, and I kind of was, you know, trying to just stay focused on what I was there for. But I'm about to share something that's going to help y'all to understand a lot of what's going on with some of these people. Some of these people, they want this fantasy. Some of them are doing stuff, because see, we ain't paying no attention. We don't know nothing about what these motherfuckers, because we ain't stalking these motherfuckers. So they come in, you know, and she mentioned something, because I got abreast to what she was saying, because, you know, they do stuff for you to hear. That's something else you're going to find out, especially when people are in secret competition with you. They want it to be so that you just so happen to hear something that you don't care absolutely nothing about. Okay. So she was talking to a little boy, said something about, so I'm scared or whatever. And then she said, oh yeah, you know, I think I'm gonna start, you know, I'm gonna touch on that topic on blah, blah, you know, something like that. I smirked, because I'm like, good gravy. Because the fascinating thing is, they're watching me. It's not the other way around. You see that? Just picture that, and picture yourself. You're minding your business, which every last one of us have the liberties and freedoms to do. So picture that. You're minding your business. You are doing you. Okay? You ain't trolling on people's social media, and you ain't trolling on foot. Okay? This is one of the same young ladies that I've already patterned her stalking me on social media. I did. And if y'all are wondering how, well, because there's certain things that I would do at certain times that's going to trigger certain activities. That's how I do it, usually. So they already showed their hand. I was on my son's patio, you know, one night, you know, right before I came on, here comes a bag of garbage. Showed their hand. Time before that, I was on my son's patio on a live. Next thing I know, some weird sprinkles came from the top, some weird feathers. some weird, you know, black feathers, bitch. I don't know. Okay. Boom. Pattern. Another pattern. I'll do something random, something that I don't usually do, and I'll come on live. And if it's when they are doing their, ritual routine noise making, I'll come on. And sometimes it just depends, it depends on what has happened. This is what I'm picking up, because in some cases they try to show out for whoever they're trying to impress. Like, look at me, I'm moving furniture, can you hear it? Other times, maybe if they're concerned that it's something that may be very well used against them, okay, then it's like it'll be like quiet. You hear a fucking needle drop. And then it'll go right back to normal after I'm done. Okay? Just like when I called the cop. Same difference. Okay? So these are they're called pattern recognitions. Okay? But back to what I'm trying to say about the whole delusion and the point of what I'm trying to make about the fine line. It's not even so much about getting into belief systems. It's the delusion and the hypocrisies and double standards that seem to go over people's head. And if tables were turned, if it was somebody, like I said, unorthodox and some kind of different system and played that bullshit, was found out in some kind of way to be basically doing some shit because of that, they would get chewed the fuck up, possibly. Like, excuse me, this ain't, with all due respect to we don't do that. We honor the very things that we're expecting. You expect to have a certain level of honor and respect for who you are and your practice, and so does everybody else walking. Your personal stuff.
You done with that?
Yeah, you can go ahead and pour this thing, son.
That's. I just wanted to let you know you done with it.
Oh, no, you're fine. It's okay. And, unfortunately, sometimes this stuff is compound, though. It's compound. It be a combination of people's beliefs on top of their friendships and stuff. They connects. That's delusion. And, if these people do have teachings and I'm baffled. I am. Because that's not how we're showing victory in our lives, and that's not something that's representing our self-love and self-mastery. And being able to do that, that's something. Focusing on those things and not stepping into violating other people and getting really weird. Where that fine line is kept intact. It's like you can do and say whatever you want to say. It's still rituals, by the way. It's still spells, but you can do and say whatever you want in your prayer closet. But when you start trying to rally up people and get people to follow people around, you need to get checked out. When you start trying to obstruct, you throwing stuff at people's door. See, this is the stuff people are gonna have to look at some point. That ain't no mission for nothing. You throwing shit at people's door now? Now you're crossing territory. You're putting shit on people's patios and shit in the name of who? So then this needs to be brought to the forefront. So then it's okay for you and your people to do that. Let's just say it out loud and be honest and don't make no concessions. Basically, by way of your behavior, you're saying that it is okay for you and your people to do that. But you're equally saying that if it's done to you, you'd have a problem with it, and then you'll be quickly calling it some type of a Christian persecution. Because somebody believing something of the devil don't make that so. See, that's the whole message of the hour. Even the proverbial devil that really don't exist. That's another question of the proverbial hour. At the bottom line, when people are, let's say I'm the same person that's in this position that I just told you guys, and let's say I'm who I am. But let's also say that I am not mindful or self-aware of myself as a person. Let's say I am out here making all sorts of choices and decisions. I'm crossing lines and boundaries. I am trying to cause issues for people. I'm buttoning my nose where I ain't got no business. I'm bending rules and laws for myself and my friends in the background. You know what I'm saying? I'm hurting other innocent lives based on stuff. Let's say that's my lifestyle I'm doing. So in other words, I'm a very shallow spiritualist that ain't really doing no real work yet. And let's say, you know, I spread lies and rumors. Let's say, like my grandmother would say, I got diarrhea by the mouth. And I'm out here using my position in all these sectors and circles and running somebody's name through the mud. Causing problems based on how I feel. And then I start to, let's say it may take a long time, but I start getting some consequences. But I feel like because I'm not self-aware and that entitlement and that grandiose, I'm not able to look at all that. When it starts to happen, I just simply feel like it's the devil, and the devil being the people that I don't like. And the devil, the people that I don't like, may not have very well done nothing to me. In fact, I may have done shit to them. But when I get some of the ramification, I want to go stomp on the devil because I don't know how to look at myself. And then the revenge begin. And that's my point. That ain't some kind of victory and some kind of holy grail and holy plan. That's outright criminal, human, bullying behavior, period, the end. That's what that is. Bullying, human interference, human actions, bullying. That is not some holy grail And that's what a lot of people call shit. You know, that's why I say it's delusion. And as I look back on a lot of stuff, I'm like, it's delusion. Because that ain't no, when you crossing certain lines, no. You didn't got 40 people to do shit. That ain't no goddamn miracle. It's a bunch of bullies. And when you start crossing lines and all that stuff, that's when these people, it's time for head checks. Okay? Because it's a fine line. And that goes for all of us. I believe this goes for every last one of us in existence. When our stuff starts to create this grandiose to such a magnitude that we start to cross certain lines into other people's lives. We start to manipulate power, positions, titles. We start to intrude on other people's liberties and freedoms and spaces. When that starts to happen, we are the ones in need of a head check. And I said what I said.